What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and predictions for week number 8.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and prediction video this week, breaking down week number 8 out of 10. And yeah, I think this week's going to be pretty fun. There's a lot of fights that I'm looking forward to. Can't wait to break it down for you guys. Before we get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It'll be much, much appreciated. We do have a week off from UFC, but we'll be back next week with UFC Vegas 80 content. And then, of course, Dana White's Contender Series week number 9 next week as well. So make sure you subscribe so not miss out on all of that. But I say we get right into it. We're going to start with the first fight on the card. We have Vinicius Oliveira going against Victor Hugo Madrigal. And we'll start with Oliveira, who's 27 years old, 5'9", 18-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Madrigal, he's 33 years old, 5'7", 12-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll start with Vinicius Oliveira. He's training at Sombra Team MMA. This is a guy, in terms of notable wins or losses, he has quite a few of them. So he did lose to Ali Taleb in 2022 by third-round knockout. Taleb is 9-0. He also lost to Christian Quinones back in 2018 by doctor stoppage. And he's fought solid competition overall, 21 fights on his record. So he's a very experienced fighter with that solid level of competition. Vinicius Oliveira is a kill-or-be-killed fighter. This guy has a 78% finish rate by knockout. 11% of his wins come by submission for an overall finish rate of 89%. And the chin of Oliveira, I guess, would be the one worry. This guy looks very good, but the chin is in the durability is a little bit questionable. He has been finished in all 3 of his losses, and all 3 of those losses do come by knockout. There's a doctor stoppage, but he's been finished by strikes in the majority of his losses. So that's definitely a concern. But yeah, Oliveira is very long and rangy and throws with so much power. He has quick hands, and he lands very, very heavy. This guy, his power is no joke at all. I've seen him knock multiple guys out very, very badly. He throws everything into his punches. He will showboat a little bit. He'll do the thing where his hands are low. He'll taunt his opponents a little bit, but he's a very, very good striker nonetheless. And he has that killer instinct as well, which I do like. When he has somebody hurt, he swarms them, and he lets off with big combinations against the cage. And he throws technique out the window in a lot of situations. He'll just wing big punches, looking to take the head off of his opponent. So I really like what I see from Oliveira in terms of the striking. His takedown defense looks solid from what I've seen, and he will go for takedowns himself if need be. His grappling looks decent also, and he has an opportunistic submission game. He won't, go out there and, always look to get fights down to the mat, but he can. But I did see him knock somebody down, take the back, and choke him out shortly after. Yeah, I like Oliveira. Oliveira is a very exciting fighter, and would love to see him in the UFC. I think he's somebody that is definitely ready for the UFC. It's just the chin and the durability would be that one thing that kind of holds me back a little bit. As far as Victor Hugo Madrigal, this is a guy who, in terms of notable wins or losses, he's fought really good competition as well. So he's beat Jose Quinones back in April, actually, by second-round submission. They had a very fun back-and-forth war in the first round, and they beat him in the second round by sub there. And then he also beat Jose Quinones' brother, Christian Quinones, by third-round submission as well. And then in terms of the losses of Madrigal, he has 3 losses against some solid opponents. Marcelo Rojo's in the UFC, Alejandro Flores, who I think fought on the Contender Series, and then Pipe Vargas as well. So Madrigal has a 82% finish rate. A 57% of his wins come by knockout, and 25% of his wins come by submission. So Madrigal is also a very solid finisher. So Madrigal, like I said, he's fought some very solid competition throughout his career. He has some good wins, very good losses as well. He can be low volume on the feet, but he's dangerous and loves to get into these back-and-forth wars. He was hurt bad in his last fight against Jose Quinones, but he was able to survive and then hurt Quinones later in the round. So yeah, he's tough, but he's most definitely willing to go out there and eat one to give one. And he's shown a really solid chin on him, and he can definitely take a shot. His ground game looks pretty solid, and I'd imagine he's going to try to get the fight down to the mat here. And he has some good submission wins, beating both Christian Quinones by submission. It's, pretty good look. There were some sketchy moments on the mat actually early on within the Quinones fight, the Jose Quinones fight, where Quinones actually took him down a couple times, but he was able to kind of out-scramble him, end up on top, and ended up submitting him in that second round. So Madrigal, he's not terrible, but this is a matchup where I just think he's going to be outgunned here. Madrigal, he's super tough. I just think Oliveira is the much, much better striker here, and by a good margin. I think Oliveira is going to absolutely style on Madrigal when this fight's on the feet. I think Oliveira has the takedown defense to keep it upright, and when the fight is standing, I really do like Oliveira's chances. And I also think Oliveira may have some sneaky success in the grappling. I don't think it's something he really has to go to here. But like I said, I've seen Madrigal taken down by lesser opponents and controlled a little bit. So yeah, I like Oliveira here. The chin's the one thing. If these guys go out there and, stand and bang, the chin, the durability is the one thing that worries me. But in terms of who's the better fighter, I absolutely think it's Vinicius Oliveira. Oliveira is a big favorite. I think he's the biggest favorite on the card here. He's currently sitting at minus 330. And Madrigal sitting at plus 255. I'm going to take Vinicius Oliveira to win this fight. I'll say he wins this fight by second round knockout. All right, moving on. We have Carly Judice going against Ernesta Karakati. We'll start with Judice, who is 24 years old, 5'7", 3-0, and 3-0 in her only 3 fights. Karakati, she is not sure how old she is, but she's 5'9", 4-0. And 1, and 4-0-1 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds. We see that Karakati is a plus 130 underdog, and we have Judice as around a minus 160 favorite there. So, and by the way, Karakati is actually 25 years old. Her birthday was actually 10 days after mine, so something like that. So Ernesta Karakati is only 25 years old there. I'll fix it on the screen so nobody cries in the comments. I know people get really upset about that. So Karakati is 25 years old. Just confirm that. All right. So in terms of Judice, she is a finisher. 100% finish rate. All 3 of her wins come by knockout. She's never seen a second round in her 3-fight pro career, and she's finished all of her fights with strikes there. Her opponents have a combined record of 5 wins and 14 losses, and she's fought nobody with a winning record. She became a pro just a year ago, and she went undefeated as an amateur as well, so she does have some amateur background as well, and she actually has won some decisions as an amateur, so she showed that she can go out there and fight in an extended fight. And there's not a lot of footage of her, obviously, but what I have seen, Judice is very, very aggressive. She pressures forward as soon as the fight starts. She throws hard kicks to the body and the legs. She's very kick-heavy in there and throws a ton of them. She has a good head kick she throws as well that I like, and she landed it. I think it was her last fight. She does a good job at backing up her opponents against the cage and letting off with combinations. And for as aggressive as she is, she does a really good job in terms of staying composed and not getting too wild in there. Her low-level opponents aren't able to kind of take what she brings to the table, and she's able to go out there and make these lower-level opponents kind of crumble under the pressure, where I don't think Karakati is as low-level as, some of these other opponents that, Judice is fighting. As far as Karakati, she, in terms of notable wins or losses, no, but, she's fought bad, if not just as bad as competition as Judice. It's rough. But Karakati has a 50% knockout rate there, 0 subs, 50% finish rate overall. So Karakati was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmanov's sister, but Shavkat's sister had to pull out, unfortunately. 3 of her opponents didn't even have a win on their record. It was she's fought 0-0 fight. It's horrible. Just a terrible level of competition for both ladies. But she's massive for flyweight, and she's going to be the bigger fighter in this matchup here. I had to turn off the fight while researching it. It's been a long day. But I turned it back on. I finished the tape, and I guess to put it nicely, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Karakati. But, she's shown a little bit more. There's more footage of her. There's footage of her going into extended fights, longer fights. Whereas with Judice, you have not a ton of tape, and the tape that you do see, she's finishing fights in like a couple minutes. So, but Karakati, she's long, she's rangy, she's going to have the size advantage in pretty much anyone she fights. I mean, she's 5'9" at flyweight, she's pretty huge in there. But I don't think she's UFC caliber, and I'm not even sure Judy's is UFC caliber as well. It's a rough fight. I really wanted to see Shavkat's sister go out there and destroy Karakati, but I guess that's not happening. Like I said, I'm not sure either of these ladies are anywhere near UFC caliber, but I like the aggressiveness of Judice and the power that she brings to the table. She actually looks pretty solid from the little amount of footage I have seen of her. She's fought nobody, but both these fighters have fought absolutely nobody, so I'm not sure that even matters. Give me Judice to win this fight by second round knockout, but this fight is a complete mess, and I won't be betting it. But give me Judice to win this fight by second round knockout. I don't know. We'll move on to the next fight. And yeah, this fight should be pretty good. We got Danny Silva going against Angel Pacheco. We got Danny Silva, who is 26 years old, 5'11", 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Angel Pacheco, he's 31 years old, 5'8", 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Danny Silva minus 225. Angel Pacheco is a plus 180 dog. We'll start with Danny Silva, training out of a CSW Training Center. And in terms of notable wins or losses, nothing really for Silva there. He has a 71% finish rate, all those by knockout, no subs on his record. Some notes I have on Silva: he's very composed in there and has fast hands. He brings pressure and volume from the very jump. Very start of the fight, he gets after it. He has some nasty low leg kicks. He dropped his last opponent with that. He goes to the body as well. When he smells blood in there, he turns the pressure up, and he comes forward with combinations to the head and the body, which I really like the body work that Silva brings to the table. His striking defense isn't the best, and he holds his hands down low at times, which is something you never really like to see, but Silva has shown a very, very good chin thus far. His cardio is very good, and his forward pressure breaks opponents, and he doesn't take his foot off the gas pedal the entire time, which you gotta love, and he has the cardio to do it. His takedown defense looks okay from what I've seen, just okay, but he can absolutely get taken down, and he can be put in some bad spots as well. When taken down, he gets his back taken a lot, but he's able to kind of work his way out of those positions, but just seeing him get been put into a lot of these dominant positions is a little concerning, but he's always able to get out of them, so, there's that. I've seen him get his back taken in, like, several fights, so I've seen him get put into several bad spots. But he's a guy that can definitely work his way out of it. He's able to work his way back up, stand up each and every time. Haven't really seen him put into like a ton of danger, but it's just something that you don't really love to see. But yeah, on the feet, Silva's a problem. I think his ground game is whatever, but on the feet, Silva's absolutely a problem. I like this guy. He's tough, he's aggressive, he comes forward nonstop. I like Danny Silva quite a bit. In terms of Angel Pacheco, he's training out of Start BJJ. In terms of notable wins or losses, nothing really for Pacheco there. Pacheco has a 100% finish rate. About half of them come by knockout, half of them come by submission. Pacheco has only been to decision once, and it was a decision loss to Nate Williams back in 2020. On the feet, Pacheco is patient and has some good hard leg kicks himself. Can be a little low volume in there. He likes to stay on the outside, pick his shots, but he doesn't look to deal too well with pressure. It kind of takes him a while to get going. He was dropped badly in his last fight, but he was able to recover. And when I mean badly, I mean bad. It looked like he got flatlined, but was able to get up and was able to recover, which was nice to see. And he went on to win that fight for what it's worth. He gets more and more aggressive as the fight goes on. He starts to turn it up more and more. And he has a lot of power wherever the fight goes. On the feet, he has power. In terms of the grounded pound, he's very vicious on the mat. Pacheco's pretty solid. He's pretty solid. He's pretty dangerous. He can be taken down as well, but he's hard to control, and he can pop back up. If he can get on top, he has nasty grounded pound and some submissions on his record as well. And like I said, Pacheco, he's solid. He's dangerous everywhere the fight goes. The cardio seems to check out. He's not too bad. In terms of how this fight goes, I think both these guys are pretty decent, but I was much more impressed with what I saw from Silva, especially on the feet. Silva brings a lot of pressure to the table. I think that's something Pacheco's going to really struggle to deal with here. Silva's going to have the volume advantage, absolutely, and he should be the one coming forward here. I like the toughness of Silva as well, and he's shown that he has the cardio to push a pace that a lot of guys are not able to keep up with. I like Silva here by second round knockout. Pacheco's dangerous, though. Pacheco's no joke. I just like the forward pressure, the nonstop of Danny Silva coming forward the entire time. If he gets taken down, he gets back up. He's just somebody that he's a bull. I mean, he comes forward I really like this guy's style, Danny Silva, but Pacheco's super dangerous, so we'll see. But I got to go Silva here. I really don't like the minus 220. I think it's a little bit disrespectful here to Pacheco, but in terms of a pick, I will pick Danny Silva to win this fight by second round knockout. All right, moving on to the heavyweight fight. We've got Alexander Sodkin going against Mario Piazon. We'll start with Sodkin, who is 30 years old, 6'2", 14-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Mario Piazon is 25 years old, 6 foot, 6-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. And we will start with Sodkin, who is training out of Spitfire Gym in Berlin. In terms of notable wins or losses for Sodkin, he did lose to Oleg Popov, who is a 16-1 fighter that fights in Bellator. That was back in 2019, and that was by decision. Sodkin has an 85% finish rate, 64% of which come by knockout, 21% of which come by submission. Very solid finisher in Sodkin there. Some notes I have on Sodkin. He's never been knocked out his entire career. His lone loss did come by submission in his MMA debut back in 2015, so he's shown a very good chin, not getting knocked out in 17 heavyweight fights. Very impressive there. This is a guy, Sodkin, he gets started early. He moves very well for a big heavyweight, has very heavy leg kicks that he goes to a lot. He threw a nasty spinning back kick to the body in his last fight that knocked his opponent down, and he just has a lot of power. His hands are fast, and he is a very high volume striker that possesses power in his hands, and it's not too often you see somebody at heavyweight who not only has that high volume nature of his game, but also has the power to go with it. I really like what I see from Sodkin there on the feet. His hands are fast, and he's very, very aggressive as well. Sodkin's always coming forward and always looking for the finish. He is very heavy on top if he's able to get his opponent down, but he's not too active. When he does let his hands go, he has good ground and pound on the mat. He can win minutes on top for sure, and he's really good at keeping position. If he gets on top, he's probably staying there the rest of the round or finishing the fight. When he gets on top, the guys typically don't get up. This is probably one of the more skilled heavyweight fighters out of the season by the looks of it. I love the experience, the power, the aggressiveness of Sodkin. Can't talk. But yeah, I like Sodkin here quite a bit. And actually, it looks like he's the biggest favorite on the card. Minus 400 for Sodkin there. In terms of Mario Piazon, he's training out of Galpao de Luta. In terms of notable wins or losses, level of competition is horrible. I mean, it's some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. It's very, very bad. His last win came against an 0-3 guy, and the fight doesn't even count because his opponent is either so bad or is known for throwing fights, or maybe both. I mean, it's rough. He has a 50% knockout rate, 50% finish rate overall, no subs on his record. Some notes I have on Piazon. So he's been out of the first round once, and he's fought, like I said, an absolutely atrocious level of competition, some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. He's going to be massively undersized here, and he's going to be at a big experience disadvantage too. There are literally no fights on him available, and I dug and dug and dug. But I did find one fight, and it was his debut, where he folded some bum with the first leg kick he threw. His opponent just quit in there. I mean, it's sketchy. I mean, this guy's sketchy. He's sketching me out. And the guy he fought, when I watched that fight, he was 0-1 at the time, and that was his last fight. He's now 0-2 and 40 years old. It's like the Piazon's fighting the bottom of the barrel, I mean, to say the least. Anyway, final thoughts on this matchup. I mean, I hate to kind of wiki cap this fight, but there's not much to go off here as far as the Piazon side. There's really not much, but Piazon's level of competition is so bad that I could literally only find one fight of him, and his last win didn't even count. The guy he fought in his last fight didn't even count on his record. I'm not sure what the UFC is doing here, but this is one of the most, if not the most, questionable signing I've ever seen, and we've had some questionable ones. But even for Contender series, it's like, what's going on here? I was impressed with Sodkin, and he looks like one of the best heavyweights this season. And I think he should go out there and kind of run through Piazon, who I'm getting serious fraud vibes from. Give me Sodkin to get it done, and probably in the first round. With that said, though, like, it's a heavyweight fight. Piazon, serious Farab vibes, but it's a heavyweight fight. These guys are going to throw down. These guys hit hard. Don't be shocked if Piazon goes out there and knocks out Sodkin. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight at the end of the day, but in terms of a pick, you absolutely have to go Sodkin. So give me Sodkin to win this fight by first round finish, but a sketchy heavyweight fight nonetheless. We just don't know much about Piazon. All right, and then we'll move on to an actual fight. We have the main event. We got Danny Barlow going against Raheem Forrest. Really looking forward to this fight. We will start with Danny Barlow, who's 27 years old, 6'2", 6-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Raheem Forrest, he's 26 years old, 5'11", 7-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And we have this is the closest line fight on the card. Barlow plus 100, Raheem Forrest is sitting at minus 130. So we'll start with Danny Barlow. He's training at Law School MMA, which is the same gym as AJ Cunningham, who we saw fight on week number 6. I think Cunningham got destroyed, if I'm not mistaken, in that matchup. But it doesn't really matter in this one. This is a guy in Barlow who has a 67% finish rate, 50% by knockout, and 17% by submission. And in terms of the notes I have on Barlow, he has 2 wins in the CFFC promotion, and he even fought on the same card as Raheem Forrest. I think it was a couple years ago, but they were actually on the same card before. I think Forrest was headlining the card, and Barlow was earlier on the card there. So solid leg kicks from Barlow, and he's very lengthy on the feet. He has a massive 80-inch reach, and uses it very well. So 80-inch reach for Barlow. 80-inch reach for a welterweight is ridiculous. Like, that's wild. But he mixes it up very well. He'll attack the body, the legs, the head. He throws and lands with a lot of power. He's very accurate on the feet and very composed in there. He has a lot of power in his left hand, Danny Barlow. He throws his straight left like an absolute missile. He's patient, and when he has his opponents hurt, he goes all out for a finish there. I love the striking from Barlow. He's measured and very dangerous, and his reach gives his opponents a lot of problems, and rightfully so. 80-inch reach advantage is no joke. I have seen him taken down in his first CFFC fight. He's controlled a lot and got his back taken. He was put in some very bad spots in the first round, but he was able to show good defense, survive. He does have a BJJ background, I believe, but it's not really something I've seen him go to lately, at least. Cardio checks out for him, absolutely, and the power carries late for Barlow, no problem. The level of competition is questionable, but he looks good. Barlow looks good overall. As far as Raheem Forrest, this is a guy that is training at Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. In terms of notable wins or losses, he did beat Donovan Beard by decision back in 2021. Donovan Beard was the guy that Bo Nickel beat on the Contender Series. And then Forrest lost to Charles Radke by first-round submission earlier this year. So Forrest has a 70% finish rate, 56% by knockout, 14% by submission. Forrest has had 5 fights in the CFFC promotion and went 4-1 in those fights. Only lost, like I said, to Charles Radke. Pretty solid competition overall for Forrest. Forrest pressures early, and he's very aggressive. He has non-stop pressure at all times, and he's very powerful. He has a ton of power, and he's very mean in there. The cardio worries me a bit for Forrest if the fight does go on. But early on, Forrest is an animal, to be honest. He will look to hold his opponents against the cage and win minutes. He'll throw big knees in the clinch. He'll look to get the fight down to the ground. Very heavy on top, looks to do damage. He's a solid wrestler, very physically strong. Solid ground game overall, and has some subs on his record too. I've even seen him taken down himself, and his ground game on bottom is definitely a concern. Is that something that Barlow's going to go to? I'm not so sure, but Forrest off his back is not good. So Forrest is going to have to keep this upright, but I'm not sure if Barlow's going to go for takedowns or not. At least not early. And if Barlow does go for takedowns early, I don't really see him getting any. But as the fight goes on, potentially that could be in the cards. Tough fight to call. Obviously, it's a closely lined fight for a reason. I think it's a very tough fight to call. I love the height and reach advantage that Barlow's going to have here. Absolutely. Barlow's going to have a 3-inch height advantage, big reach advantage as well, so I like that. And he's going to have the cardio advantage, absolutely. Cardio and goes in favor of Barlow big time. So Barlow's going to have to weather an absolute storm here, and it's going to be a big storm in the first round against an absolute first-round monster in Raheem Forrest. But as the fight goes on, I do expect Forrest to start to slow down. I think a little bit of that power is going to go. He's not going to be so dangerous in that second and third round. But yeah, in the first round, Forrest is going to be very, very dangerous. Forrest is so dangerous and explosive, but he does clearly slow down as the fight goes on. And like I said, he looks like a fish out of water on his back, especially when he's tired. So I wouldn't mind seeing Barlow get takedowns here, especially as the fight goes on, because if he can get on top, like in the second and third round, I feel like he can finish the fight on top. I like Barlow to weather the early storm here and get Forrest out of there late, but a storm it'll have to be. So yeah, phenomenal fight. Looking forward to this fight. I think, I would not mind seeing either guy in the UFC. I think both guys are UFC caliber fighters for sure. But as far as the pick, I will take Danny Barlow to win this fight. I'll say he wins it by third round knockout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you guys can leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, and best of luck for Dana White's Contender Series week number 8. See you guys later.